what are the challenges people face when memorizing the Quran and how can they overcome them? Very good question. What are the challenges people face? What I'll do here is I'll talk about my own challenges and how I overcame them, and I'm pretty sure you'll be able to relate to most, if not all of them. One of the challenges right now, as a married man with 2 children, studying full-time at the Islamic University, I run my business, and I'm memorizing mutun. One of the key challenges that I face is consistency and, fitting the memorizing into my schedule is very difficult. If I wake up every day and I know I need to memorize and I just say, okay, today I need to memorize, then we all know that nothing is going to be memorized that day. The challenge is to be consistent, and how I overcome that challenge is I schedule my day from the night before. This is very important. I know exactly what I'll be doing tomorrow. Okay, don't get me wrong. I don't want to make as though, I'm perfect and every day I'm on point and this, that, the other. There are some days where you just relax and you just let yourself go. That's completely fine as well. But most days, the day before or the night before, I'll know exactly what I'm doing the next day. Okay, so I know after Fajr, this is my time for memorization. Then I go for breakfast, then I do this, then I go to university, then I do my work. Generally speaking, I know exactly how my day is going to look. And it's funny because a teacher of mine just mentioned, because it's Ramadan next week, Ramadan 2025, he just mentioned that, when Ramadan comes, we say, I'm going to increase in my ibadah. Now, what does this mean? Are you just going to start doing so many more stuff? No, you need to have a schedule. You need to say, okay, after Fajr, this is what I'm going to do for 1 hour. Between Asr and Maghrib, this is my plan. Between Maghrib and Isha, and you get the point. You don't just say, I'm going to do more ibadah, because then nothing will get done. And similar point here, which is that if I don't schedule my day from the night before, then, and I don't specifically fit time in that I'm going to memorize, then nothing will happen. And that's the same concept that you need to pick up when it comes to your hifz, your memorization. You need to ensure that from the night before, you know exactly what time you will be memorizing. And as we mentioned earlier, the best time to memorize is in the morning and without any devices. You've had no communications with anyone, you're fresh, you've started the day fresh and strong, and therefore that's the time I'm going to memorize. Another challenge people face, as I say, I'm talking a little bit from personal experience, but I'm also talking generally from my conversations and from what I know, is some people struggle to retain. They struggle to retain what they've learnt, and effectively the answer to this is regular repetition. So you need to constantly be repeating what you have previously memorized. As soon as you stop repeating, then you slowly but surely you start to lose what you have memorized. And there's also a hadith to the nearest meaning. Effectively talks about the fact that the Quran is very easy to basically forget. So there's also the verse, وَلَقَدْ يَسَّرْنَا الْقُرْآنَ لِلذِّكْرِ فَهَلْ مِن مُدَّكِرٍ, and we made the Quran easy to remember. But then there's also a hadith that says, if you don't revise, then again it's very easy to forget. So as we say, repetition is key, daily revision. There should not be a single day that goes by, even if it's like 5 minutes. Here we're not extreme out here saying that you have to read the Quran 30 minutes, 1 hour, 2 hours a day. It's nothing like this. You just have to, 5 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day is not much. You're only doing yourself benefit, because the Quran certainly brings barakah, it brings massive blessings into your life that you can't really see and it's not really apparent. But certainly the blessings come into your life. And another point, it's a bit of a side point, but when you try to understand the meaning, so you study the Arabic language, then generally speaking, it becomes easier to remember what you have memorized. Another common challenge people face is the lack of consistency. So effectively, you'll only memorize when you feel like memorizing. So you might watch this video, all of a sudden you have this urge that I want to memorize. Then, you'll memorize for 5 days and then you'll be quiet for 2 months. Or you hear another lecture, Ramadan comes, you motivate yourself. But there's a difference between motivation and discipline. A lot of people have motivation, but you burn out. After 4 or 5 days, 1 week, you end up burning out. It's about discipline. Discipline is what allows you to actually achieve something worthwhile in life. So when it comes to this whole lack of consistency, you need to set a daily routine from the night before, pick a fixed time again, and perhaps it's important to stay accountable. So, have a buddy or a partner or a teacher that's overlooking you, your parents, or even a friend, to just check in, to see how have we been performing. And competition is also good. Healthy competition is also beneficial. The other one is distraction and lack of focus. This is a very, very big challenge that most need to overcome. Back in my day when I was memorizing, finished when I was 12 years old, so this was in the 2000s, there was no such thing as social media, and there was no such thing, the mobile phone, the devices, it wasn't a thing, right? Since 2010 onwards, you have Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, WhatsApp, LinkedIn, Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. You have all these social media platforms, and they're all just attacking you from different angles. So naturally, what's happened over time is all this information is bombarded your brain, and therefore it's very difficult these days for you to focus and for you to concentrate. Even reading 2-3 pages from a book is very difficult. Why? Because when you're scrolling on Instagram, for example, when you scroll, you have, for example, you'll have football, okay, and then you scroll, literally 5 seconds later, you have something else, then 5 seconds later. So every 5 seconds, you're getting a brand new piece of information. Now, when you read in the Quran, for example, it's not, it's the same thing you're reading. You're reading the same thing. It's not a new thing. It's not, the dopamine is not being hit. When you're scrolling, you're always getting something new. The dopamine is just, bang, bang, bang. But here is you're reading the same thing, and therefore it's difficult to focus and concentrate. And this is a challenge. This is a new challenge that has come up, in this day and age, whereby, phones, social media, it makes it very hard to concentrate. And as we mentioned earlier, we have, no phone in the same room. So you have to memorize in a quiet place. You don't have your phone. Don't look at your phone. Be very strict with yourself. It's very difficult. As I say, it vibrates. You pick it up straight away. You randomly start thinking about random things where, you haven't thought about for years, but you think about it and you want to pick your phone up and you want to search on Google, for example. So this is not good. And also, 2 other points here would be, obviously, you must make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He grants you concentration, but also barakah in your time. This is a very big one, because some people, they spend hours and hours and they're not getting anywhere. And this is where the whole barakah thing comes in. And also, وَمَا تَوْفِيقِي إِلَّا بِاللَّهِ, the guidance and the ability is only given from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you have to always be making dua. And finally, you must set a specific goal. So don't go extreme, be realistic, whereby, each session, each day, each week, how much you need to memorize. For example, right now I'm memorizing 3 lines from Shatibiyya. I don't compare myself to anyone else. I know that 3 lines is enough for me, and 6 days a week, so 1 day for revision, is more than enough for me. If someone else is memorizing 10 lines a day, I'm not really bothered. I don't compare myself to anyone else. So you set yourself a specific and realistic target, and you reward yourself as well. When you achieve certain targets, you can reward yourself. Few other challenges would be around pronunciation and tajweed. So the solution here would be to recite to a skilled teacher. So not just to any teacher. You need to recite to someone that can actually help you increase in your recitation. So you don't want to recite to someone that's very average, because then you'll just stay average. For example, myself, when I came to Medina, my teachers in the Haram, I looked for the best teachers. I didn't just settle with any teacher, because at a certain stage I might know more than the teacher because I've studied. So I have to look for someone that's on a higher level, and that's the way you're constantly improving. And another key point is to recite aloud. A lot of people, when they're memorizing or when they're studying, they're just reading. They just you can't hear anything. But it's very important to recite loud, so your pronunciation, your recitation is coming out clearer. For example, وَإِذْ قَالَ إِبْرَاهِيمُ لِأَبِيهِ آزَرَ أَتَتَّخِذُ أَصْنَامًا آلِهَةً. If I just say, it's very difficult to see where you're going wrong. Also, with that point, it also helps with your retention. So it also helps you retain what you've studied. Another challenge is feeling overwhelmed by the long journey. It's a 3-year course, 4-year course, 10 years. It might take you 15 years. The average is about 3 to 4 years. But sometimes you might just feel like giving up and it feels impossible to memorize. When you come to these kind of roadblocks, just know that once you push through this roadblock, you have now reached the next level. There is growth. You've attained something. You're moving ahead. Without these, negative thoughts, negative feelings, and pushing past them, you're literally staying in the same place. So really and truly, you should question yourself that, if I'm not having these thoughts, then am I really progressing? What you need to do when it comes to these circumstances, when we focus on one ayah at a time, it literally eases the burden. So mentally, a lot of this is mindset and it's your mental capacity. The mind is very, very powerful. Most people, they live their whole life and they don't realize how important or how powerful your mind is. If you're feeding your mind positive thoughts, then wallahi, naturally, everything becomes so much easier. On the flip side, if you're feeding your mind negative thoughts, which is, this is so difficult, this is long, it's too hard, this verse, look at it, it's so hard, it's full of mutashabihat, I've been doing this for so long, look at this person, he or she has done, is ahead of me. These are all negative thoughts you're feeding yourself. You need to always, this is not only in hifz, but anything in life, if you want to achieve, if you want success, whether this is, when it comes to memorizing, financial success, in your studies, business, work, if you feed yourself positive thoughts, then this is the winning mindset. You're undefeatable. If you believe in yourself, then everything becomes easy. So same thing here. It's very, it's the same thing. When you're struggling, when you're finding it impossible to memorize, you break it down into small chunks. You tell yourself, you know what? I've actually come a long way. I'm actually doing quite well. I'm doing better than most. Or I remember last week I was struggling on the other verse, but today I'm just revising it like it's nothing. So these are all this is all progress, and you need to celebrate the progress and also trust the process. Now, this is a deeper point, but when it comes to the Quran, your intention, your niyyah is very important. It shouldn't be that I want to become hafidh and that's the end of the matter, 3 years, 4 years, and you don't touch the Quran again. Then actually, you've lost, right? You failed. Really, you should know that the process or the ultimate goal is the journey with the Quran, that you want to stay with the Quran for for a lifetime. You don't want it to be that, okay, I memorize and then that's it, I'm gone. So many people, they memorize the Quran in the madrasa and that's it. The connection with the madrasa or with the Quran is completely gone down to zero. And most of the time, these same people, they forget the Quran. So that's actually a curse, right? Rather, you struggling could be a blessing in disguise, which is that I am simply spending more time with the Quran. Alhamdulillah, throughout my life, there's more time that I'm spending with the Quran. So even myself now, I'm studying with Sheikh Abdullah al-Jarullah, who's very well known. He's a renowned teacher in al-Masjid al-Nabawi. And a lot of students, they come and it's like they're competing with each other. They come and they want to finish quick. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. Yes, at some point you do need to finish. But alhamdulillah, my mindset is I'm not in a rush, and the longer it takes for me to finish, it just simply means the more days I'll come to the haram and I'll read my Salatul Maghrib, Salatul Isha in Jama'ah. There's all these other benefits, right? Sitting in the masjid, all these other benefits that are unspoken of, and I'm simply spending more time with my teacher. I'm learning more knowledge. So really and truly, there's no rush. In terms of final points, I would say memorization is more about consistency, so constantly showing up rather than speed, and make dua before and after every session. So really before, during and after your session, you should make dua. Why? Because it's a skill, but it's also a journey, as mentioned. And trust Allah's help. As we mentioned, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in the Holy Quran, in Surah Al-Qamar, وَلَقَدْ يَسَّرْنَا الْقُرْآنَ لِلذِّكْرِ فَهَلْ مِن مُدَّكِرٍ. So I hope that helps. I hope that makes sense. That question was, what are the challenges people face when memorizing the Quran, and how can they overcome them? This one I'm definitely interested to hear your views. I'm interested to hear what challenges you've faced and how you've overcome them, because many a time your challenges will have been faced by others. So we're all benefiting from this video and from the comment section as well. نسأل الله القبول والإخلاص.